What was your damn I'm a badass moment? I was young, probably 11. I had a kid try to tackle me from behind, and I flipped him over my shoulder. It was ducking dope. A while back I looked outside my house to see the sky was overcast, so I lifted up my hands and snapped my fingers, and lightning flashed right in front of my house. I felt hella badass after that moment, and recently I thought back to that moment and decided to snap my fingers again, and then a power surge or a short outage took place in my house. This was late in the night, by the way. One day I will learn to master this power I have over electricity and exploit it for my own lazy benefits. Not my most badass moment, but once in 3rd grade, we were playing dodgeball with those iconic red rubber balls, and my 2 friends happened to be on the other team that day, and well, I had a ball. Ducking whipped it at one of my friends, cracked him straight in the face. The ball bounced off, only to hit my other friend right in his face. I got a collateral headshot in dodgeball. By far my favorite elementary school moment. When I was 18, I was an EMT. My first emergency call. After we got the guy to the emergency room alive, the emergency room doctor looked at me and said, "Do you know what you did? You just saved that man's life." I'm 23 now, and EMS wasn't the career for me, but I still think about that moment a lot. I was pumping gas at a station with my sister, me being 19 at the time and her being 16, when a man probably like 25 years old got into the backseat of my car. I started to yell at him to get out of my car. My sister was shaking scared. He then pulled a gun on me and told me to get in the car and drive. Without even thinking, I started to make him question himself by saying, "Or what? Are you going to shoot me right here in this well-lit gas station? There are other people around. Did you really think this through?" He started to look around, called me a stupid bee, got out of the car and ran off. What are you gonna do? Shoot me? Balls of steel right there. My brother and I are close in age, so we grew up always playing on the same hockey team together. I'm a girl who's 1 year older than him, and was often the only girl on the team. Anyways, during one particular game, when he was 11, and I was 12, this one kid on the other team kept on picking on my brother. He finally illegally tripped my brother, and my brother slid headfirst into the boards. The kid got a penalty and went into the box. I decided that when he got out I was going to make my revenge. As soon as he got out I skated towards him at full speed, put my stick between his feet, and flipped him onto his head with one swift motion. Looked down at him and told him to leave my little brother alone. Then happily skated over to the penalty box while my parents cheered me on from the stands. All the kids on my team thought it was pretty badass, so I'm pretty sure that's the most badass thing I've done. It's also one of my favorite memories. Guy pulled a knife on me when I was a bit tipsy and waiting for a bus, and demanded my wallet. Without thinking I hit him in the jaw and knocked him out cold. Stole his knife and walked away. Still have the knife somewhere around here. Achievement: unlocked switchblade. I was at a small local concert that was being held in a park. It was a bunch of metal and thrash bands, mostly local acts, but a few touring bands. The gazebo where we were playing was on a small island in a lake, with the only access being a bridge that led to the parking lot. The event organizers had a couple of people stationed on the bridge to take tickets. It was a pretty cool setup to just be available for us to rent out. Everyone was being pretty chill and enjoying the show. There was a mosh pit with a few guys, but there was plenty of room. Then this group of idiots shows up. 70% of this crowd is underage, but these guys show up drunk and with more beer and immediately start causing trouble. They are asked to leave and told the cops are being contacted. Tensions are high, yelling and cussing all over. But hey, they are leaving now. Maybe we can go back to enjoying ourselves. One of the organizers walked behind them while she was escorting them out, phone in hand. Just as they reached the bridge, this guy turned around and slapped the crap out of her. I saw red. The stage was about 50 meters from the bridge and I broke into a sprint heading for this guy, ready to whoop his ass. I'm halfway there, all 5 of these guys turn and run. I'm a big guy, but still, I didn't expect all 5 to run. I get to the chick that got slapped, and I stop running. She is safe, and I'm feeling like a badass for chasing these guys off. Then I turn to see that all of the no less than 200 people at the show saw the same thing I did, and were right behind me, ready to stomp these guys onto the ground. So, I didn't chase them off myself, but I basically led a battle charge. I was sitting in a chair and I threw a gummy bear up and hit a really high ceiling, and I caught it in my mouth without moving and comfortably to catch it. That's where I peaked in my opinion. So I was chilling at my really rich friend's house in high school with a few buddies just smoking a joint outside in the winter, and we hear whimpering crying. We notice his dog is missing, and soon after our worst fear becomes reality as we see it's him. We heard out on the frozen lake. He walked a good 200 feet out and fell through. Freaking out and stoned, we run to the neighbor's beach that was closer to him, get in their canoe, and start chopping through the ice, pushing ourselves forward inch by inch. About 2-3 of the way out I broke the solid wood, or clean in half, trying to force ourselves out to him. We make it there and somehow he's still managing to stay afloat in the freezing water after being stuck at least 15-20 minutes. I was at the front of the boat, so I got to him first. Now keep in mind this is an absolutely soaked 90 pounds dry dog and I'm 5'7", 120 pounds. But thanks to adrenaline I pulled him out like he was a chihuahua. We get him to the nearest animal hospital, which was like 25 miles away since it was late at night, and he made it. Lived another 10 years after that. Username checks out. I don't pretend to be someone I'm not. I grew up in a not so safe neighborhood, and when I was 16 had a job at the local Dairy Queen. One slow night, 5 minutes before closing, I'm working with one other person, a smaller girl, when 2 guys ride up on their bikes. Nobody else was around, and it was already completely dark. They walked up to the door and talked a bit before entering. One of them pulled out a gun from a pocket of his pants and put it into his jacket, and a few seconds later goes to open the door. I still don't know why this was my reaction, but suddenly I, the tall, skinny, pale ginger, took a step towards the door and pointed back outside, made eye contact and said, "You're going to have to leave that outside." The guy with the gun stopped and just said "Oh," politely set the gun outside on the concrete and came back inside. This was immediately followed by the most okay, just act normal moment in my life. Pulled someone out of an overturned burning car while pregnant. Wait, was the person you pulled out of the car pregnant? Or were you pregnant? Either way, congratulations. You are a badass. No man. I think the car was pregnant. I chased a man down at the mall who had stolen a woman's purse, tackled him, and restrained him until security showed up. Then went to Cinnabon and treated myself. I ate the Cinnabon in one bite. It was the most baddest thing I've ever done to date. Once I threw a pencil into about a 4-hole in a wall, some 15 feet high from 30 feet away. First try. Patched my leaking tire with a toothpick. Doing a hazmat response all suited up where I had to contain water reactive and air reactive chemicals that were in an exploded glove box with nitrogen pouring out. Blood everywhere from the researcher involved on a timer to beat the emptying nitrogen cylinder. I was on a tall rock at a beach and I pretended to waterbend a giant wave right as a big wave crashed at the base of my rock and the water rose like 20 feet in the air in front of me. Felt pretty cool. My first week as a security guard on bike patrol, I saved a 19-year-old young woman from committing suicide on the top of a 6-story parking garage. She had just lost a preemie. I used to get in a lot of fights in middle high school. I'm not really proud of any of them, and I lost almost all of them. But there is this one I'm really proud of. We were at some Dumbus 4th of July party that we thought was super cool at the time. It was at some rich kid's house on a big hill, so there was a steep drop at the edge of the yard. These kids started pushing my friend, saying he owed them money. To my knowledge he had no idea who they were. He seemed like he was handling himself, so I turned around, probably to talk to some girl who had absolutely zero interest in me. Next thing I know, two of these kids have my friend by each arm, while one of them is punching him in the stomach. I grabbed Punchy in a chokehold and threw him down the hill. The rest of the fight basically consisted of shouting and some light pushing chest bumping while his friends went down to help him up the hill. He was fine, but he didn't bother us after that. I'm not a strong guy and I don't promote violence, but what can I say? It's a fun story, and I was defending my buddy. I volunteered at an aquarium and got to hand feed sharks while diving. Wait, whose hands did you feed them with? I stubbed my toe last week while watering my spice garden, and I only cried for 20 minutes. Man, now that is badass. Got an inflatable kayak flipped somewhere between class 3 and 4 rapids on the Colorado River. Was dragged down about 10 to 12 feet, came up under the kayak, had to get out from under it in the rapids. Gathered all my gear back in the water, and didn't even lose the sunglasses off my face somehow. Also found out a kid died in that same spot a week prior. A bouncer at a club stopped me from going out onto the smoking patio to join my friends and demanded I show him my tits before he let me pass. I was drunk and in a shit mood, and I hauled off and punched him hard just about right between his stomach and his breastbone. I'm short, he was tall, so it was a straight punch on my part, and he was not expecting it. He kind of gasped. His eyes got wide, and he staggered backwards a few steps and sat down hard on a bar stool behind him. I walked out on the smoking patio and told my friends I think I just ducked up pretty hard and we are probably going to get thrown out. I hope they don't call the cops. Nope. When we went to go back in, the bouncer was like, go right ahead, madam. You probably hit him right in the solar plexus, and he probably thought you one-shotted him there on purpose. Mad respect to you, and even if that wasn't your intended target, take full credit for it. Saved both of my kids from drowning. So when I was like 10, my little league baseball team got into the final game. It was really intense because we were in the 10th inning when there is usually only 6. We were tied for a while. It was looking like the end of the game for my team because we had 2 outs and they were up by 1. There was a guy on second and Sky on third. I was up at bat with 2 strikes. I was probably the worst player on the team at that time. But anyways, what would be the final pitch comes. I swing and I connected with the ball. It flew right over first and both of the guys on base got home and we won. All my team came out of the dugout running towards me shouting, MVP, MVP. That is probably my proudest moment ever. I know it isn't much compared to the other stories, but I'm proud of it. Buddy of mine in college had an absolutely awful string of family members passing away. He had booked his Amtrak ticket home for something like the 3rd time that semester. The last time he did that, he was 2 days delayed because of a cargo train derailment on the same tracks. While he was sleeping, I used my Northwest Airlines miles to book him a ticket home in first class. He deserved it, and I had earned them just riding back and forth to home. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.